census. Now, the chairman of the National Population Commission, Nasir Isakwara, on Tuesday told members of the Senate that President Bola Tinubu has instructed the commission to deploy the biometric model in the conduct of the next census in Nigeria. According to the NPC boss, the presidential demand was hinged on the prevailing insecurity situation in the country. He told the senators that the commission has proposed a budget of 1.1 billion naira for the National Population and Housing Census, which marks an increase of 407 million naira from the 693 million naira allocated to the commission for the same purpose in 2024. Well, we're now being joined by Arise News analyst Dayo Sobowale to discuss the pros and cons of a nationwide biometric headcount and the need to avoid the pitfalls of technology during the exercise against the backdrop of Nigeria's recent electoral experience in order to safeguard the integrity of the census outcome. Good afternoon, sir, and welcome to the program.
Good afternoon. Pleasure being here, as usual.
Wonderful. Well, before we even get into the modalities, I think it's great that this is back on the front burner of conversations. 19 years precisely since we've had the last census in Nigeria. We've been hearing talk of a census since 2022. That was, of course, disrupted by the election cycle, new administration, and so forth. So, to just open the conversation, your thoughts on this renewed advocacy for a census to be conducted?
I would have preferred we discuss the census without mentioning the elections. You get me? Because the election, the memory is like a nightmare. People are always doubtful of the integrity of elections. But I think we can conduct a free and fair, transparent census. But for the fact that so many things are tied around it, look at the recent tax reforms and the agitation on it. Census is at the heart of it. Population, the share that we are located because of population. People want a big share of the national cake. So they cook the census figures, literally. And then, you see, I'm apprehensive with the word being used now. Biometric census. How do you do a biometric census? A census is head count, household, and individuals, as at where they are, the moment you decide. If you decide it is citizenry that will be counted, yes. If you decide people who are there, as at the present time, you do it. You see, you can always borrow from, even the advanced nations like the US. The issue of illegal immigration played a large part in their last election. Get me? Because the theory, whether conspiracy or not, was that the Democrats wanted the legal immigrants to come in and be able to vote. Whereas Trump said, no way. He built walls, they broke down his walls. They started to build his walls again. And then we have similar problem. Look at, you see, the areas you have the largest population is in the north, northeast, northwest. And you see, you have the Sahel states, which are now military dictatorships surrounding us. We have open borders with them. But the irony of it is that, I did my nationals, even though I'm an old man now, almost 50 years ago, but you see, I'm sure the place is even more barren. But it's in those areas, northeast, northwest, that we had the largest number, the population of this country, till today. And then, if you remember this ECOWAS issue, when when the Niger Republic planned their coup, the army was to go there. You know, it was Nigerians who said their cousins are there. You get me? So we have, you see, if we want to do a good census, we close our borders the moment we want to do it. If we can, that is possible. Otherwise, you see, migration, climate, rural urban migration will affect that census figure. See? And then, on top of that, you have the massive issue of insecurity. If they say you can't count in some areas, you get me? Because, so you have to use an estimate, you know what that. So, I think cultural issues, provide significant challenges for us to have a very accurate census. Then somebody, again, mentioned about timing. that, Buhari wanted to do it in the election year, and he saw that it would cause serious trouble. Now somebody is saying we should do it now, because 2027 is coming. Yeah. So you can see the challenges to the census, but we must do it. The issue of biometric, I don't want us, look, we know the people who are living in the country, they can identify if you have identity or whatever. But biometric, you want to use, the safest is your iris. How many people can you gather together? How do you gather all these out of school children in the north? They say almost 10 million. You see, we can get some statistics from those who have interest in our environment, the United Nations, UNDP, all of them, and collate as a comparative something while we go about the census. But I doubt if you can manage a true and correct census. That's my fear.
Mr. Sobowale, I feel like you've already answered the better part of the questions that I had. Especially, I really appreciate how you mentioned what we've seen, census figures being cooked. What it's linked to is what makes it's what deters or reduces confidence in the process. But how can we push for a traditional approach like you're prescribing, which obviously makes sense? How can we push, even though you said, of course, the census needs to happen, but how can we push for the approach that you're seeking for, or that we should be seeking for?
If I say it, it may sound almost retrogressive. Manual. It has to be manual. Do you get me now? Let the enumerators go and count people. And let the people be available. Do not let somebody tell us that this is a harem, you cannot enter, but I have 50 people there. I'll put it down. Let's do it, like you said, the traditional way, physical counting. Households, schools, places you have people work, and so on. And maybe for the period of the census, they should tell people to stay put one place. If you want to migrate to your state, to go and do it, you do it before the census day. But then, invariably, I think it's better for people to stay where they are, to be counted. Because, the census is supposed to provide facilities for people in various population centers and areas. So that's that. And we need honest supervision, honest enumerators. Maybe they should put down a rule that those who try to falsify figures will have some punishment to be meted out there as a deterrence, so that they don't mess up. But you see, if you don't have an accurate census, you cannot plan well. Because we don't know our population, we don't know the facilities we need, we don't know the hospitals we need to build, the schools, so many places like that. You see, if you use technology, you can extrapolate figures. You see various demographics, various indices. But you see, the Nigerian factor, say garbage in, garbage out. People can still manipulate. But then, my desire is that we should have a good sense. I think we discussed this somewhere, sometime, and I said I thought Obasanjo should, but they still disputed that. But I hope this president will have the courage to do it.
I hope he will as well. And one thing about a census that often gets overlooked is that I've been fortunate to be part of a census in Zimbabwe, and it was beyond being counted. They asked detailed question about your household. What do you eat for breakfast? What do you eat for lunch? So much information that goes into this. Do you think that may be part of the pushback, is that there's a trust deficit and people aren't ready to share that information with the government?
It depends with government. That's distrust, that maybe they use it for taxation later, to use it for so many other things. And that's why I say a census should be head count. Clean, clear head count. As at that point in time, those in this particular locality and so on, then you collate and sum up. But you see, because of so many things tied to it, people are disingenuous in having the correct figure. If they think it is not adequate, they may not get what they desire, they add to it. So on. It's just like in, you see, the moment you link election to this census thing, it becomes suspicious. See, in some places where safe constituencies in the election, people will still overvote, and then they get disqualified at the court. See, the same zeal that people, the politicians especially, will put in to see that they have a robust census figure for their area so they can get, that's what is going on with the tax reform. Essentially, that's why the disruption is coming about. But we need a good, solid, accurate head count. And the sooner we do it before election, the better.
Absolutely. And I remember in one of our previous conversations, you did say that once we get this right, the census right, that everything will look up for Nigeria, and I hope we do. Thank you so much, Arise News analyst Mr. Dayo Sobowale, for your conversation.